I just got called xenophobic for saying that immigrants did not build New York City. Immigrants did not build the United States of America.
Who built New York City? New York's new mayor, Zoran Mamdani. I probably butchered it, so I apologize. I was with his speech and everything he had going all the way up until he said New York City was built by immigrants, powered by immigrants, and now ran by immigrant, whatever the hell. Get that part, but it was not built by immigrants. It was built by enslaved Black Americans. Let's not erase history. And this be my issue sometimes when immigrants get in power. It's like y'all want to erase the history and the foundation of America. And it kind of annoys me sometimes because it's just like you could have said built by enslaved Africans, developed by immigrants. He said nothing about American citizens at all in the ending of that speech at all. He gave all the credit to immigrants.
This is the most relevant video on YouTube, and if YouTube you don't push out my video, I know you hate me. Now, this is exactly what Mamdani needs to know. Y'all hear me out, hear me out, hear me out. Mamdani, we love him. We like him. We're rooting for him. Everybody's happy for him. However, if there's one thing Mamdani has failed to do so far, is to give credit where it's due. 2 words. The African American community. Hear me out, hear me out, hear me out. But Esther, all the time you be talking about African Americans this. No, they're all that. Yes, they are all that. Mamdani made his statements very well, and he resonated with a lot of New Yorkers. You know, New York is a city of immigrants. Not wrong, so correct. Okay? However, when he says immigrants built this country, yes, they did. However, who is the cornerstone of the United States? And hear me out, hear me out, hear me out. Before we argue, who is the cornerstone of America? I want you guys to think about this way. Which immigrant would have the liberty to live in the United States to an extent of getting residence and citizenship if it was not for the people that fought for the rights of Black and brown people? Does anybody understand what I mean? Yeah, I want to make sure we're on the same page. Even if we're not on the same page, feel free to let me know in the comment section. Mamdani wants to make New York City a city that's easy to live for immigrants, but if he cannot make it easy to live for African Americans, then Mamdani is doing everything wrong. Immigrants love him. He has done everything. His manifesto, the things he wants to do in New York City, good. Mamdani has the ability to change American politics history if he takes in consideration the people that made it possible for him to actually become mayor in the United States. Well, Esther, it's the immigrants that actually voted for him. What I'm trying to say is, who gave those immigrants, including Mamdani, the liberty to live in the United States? It's not the white people. We all know that it's not the white people. There are people called African Americans who shed their blood, sweat, and tears and put their lives on the line to make sure they fight for equality, good treatment for each and everybody who is even if 1 pinch of their skin tone. And if Mamdani forgets about African Americans, he doesn't have a future. He does not have a future in American politics. I tell you, and I'm not trying to make it look like, oh, it's this big thing. Like, Esther, I know there's so many people that can vote for him. I understand. But an immigrant is an immigrant. You know, an immigrant has an origin where they come from, right? Mamdani is Ugandan. Mamdani is Indian. He can go back to his home country, and so can Mexicans, and so can Jamaicans, and so can Haitians. But they are people that built the stage for immigrants like Mamdani to be able to live in the United States of America that are not being recognized in his manifestos and in his promises. And those are Black Americans. Just saying, don't pew the messenger. Why am I shouting? Why am I yelling? I'm just saying. I see it. I've been listening to him. I see every video he puts out. We love it. He's dancing to bachata, whatever. We love it. Speaking in Spanish and Arabic, we love it. You're speaking to everybody. Mamdani, do not forget the people that made it possible for you to be in the United States of America. And those are the people that are called Black Americans. If you lose them, you have lost the crown. They can take you to the top or they can make you fall. Look around. Look around. And ask yourself, would Mamdani even have a future in the United States if they are no African Americans that laid their bodies? I'm just saying, let me introduce myself. Hi guys, my name is Natskunda Esther. If you're new here, hi, welcome. Oh my God, 49,000 of y'all. I love you guys so much. Thank you so much for supporting my channel. If you're new here, I'm crazy. I just talk about things the way I think about them. If I'm wrong, you are free to let me know in the comment section. And in the case of English is failing me. It's not my mother tongue. In the case of Mamdani, we love him. He comes from my country. Yes, he's Indian. He comes from my country. However, Mamdani is about to lose the African American community. Now, hear me well. Not that they don't like him. A lot of African Americans love Mamdani. They want the best for him. They love what he is doing. He's putting people of color first. However, you cannot make New York a place that's easy for immigrants to live without making it a place that's easy to live for African Americans.
So I just got called xenophobic for saying that immigrants did not build New York City. Immigrants did not build the United States of America. I don't care which way you want to turn the key. I don't care if you came here with 50 cents. I don't care if you swam over here, if you caught a boat, a plane, a train. I don't care how you got here. If you came here once the United States of America was established as a country and you have immigrant status or an immigrant background, you did not. You nor your ancestors nor your forefathers built this country. It is a slap in the face for all of the free labor, for all of the paid labor, the pennies paid, the blood, sweat, and tears that our ancestors poured into this country. There's some Caucasian Americans who also their ancestors helped to build this country. But a lot of you all that come over here, the Mamdani, the Zorons, the new mayor of New York City, he's talking about New York was built by immigrants and it's going to remain an immigrant city. No, the fuck it was not built by immigrants. That's so disrespectful. Now, did they add to what was already built? Yes. To be an immigrant literally means that you migrated to a country from your country. Why would they all want to come over here if they wasn't coming to anything that was already built? If that was the case, why they didn't just stay where the fuck they was at and build up their homelands? They came here for the American dream. They came here for a better life. They came here for resources. They came here to take. They didn't come to assimilate necessarily because they still flying their flags and they want to create their own little subset countries within our cities. They want to bring their culture and, change people's backgrounds, their beliefs, and a lot of things that's going on. They want to make it more like where they come from instead of becoming actual Americans. And I also think that's a slap in the face. Now, I remember I heard somebody say, oh, when did Black Americans become American? Do you know how idiotic that sounds? I done said multiple times that y'all are forcing us to be patriotic out this bitch. Y'all are forcing it. Yes, we have a lot of gripe with this country. Yes, we have a lot of issues. A lot of horrific things has happened to us here. But we've also triumphed. We've been resilient. We've created things. We are embedded in the very fabric of this country. We are written into the Constitution. A lot of the things that my ancestors and my lineage that they fought for and that they worked for is why a lot of immigrants are able to come over here and benefit to this day. Now, I don't like to get into things I get deep, but I try to not go all the way there because I get tired of arguing with you motherfuckers. I be so tired of arguing with y'all. But the Arab community, a lot of them are very racist. The Muslim, I'm trying not to, the misogyny, the way women are treated. The Arab slave trade was the most horrific shit on planet Earth, and it's still happening to this day. Y'all better wake the fuck up. Just because somebody is singing New York by Jay-Z and eating fucking chicken wings with you, that does not mean that they have your best interest at heart. When are we going to stop falling from the fucking blood clot minstrel show? It gets to a point. It gets to a motherfucking point. A lot of those people, not all, don't fuck with the LGBTQ. A lot of the shit that you on, y'all are voting for people that are completely opposite of what your core values and beliefs are. And you just don't even fucking know it. Because you play too much into the smoke and mirrors. And in New York City, where I'm from, we had the Harlem fucking Renaissance. That was happening simultaneously with the Great Depression. Do you know how fucking magical that is? That a Renaissance was happening? Black Americans was creating the most beautiful pieces of art. Curating the most beautiful fucking art pieces that is known to the modern world. And the rest of the world, outside of that hub, outside of that bubble, was going through a fucking Great Depression. That's how great we are. Central Park was built over a village that was filled with beautiful black people called Seneca Village. Wall Street, we built that shit. The fucking bridges, the Brooklyn Bridge, we built all of this shit. Did other people come and help and add? Yes. But did they build it? No. The foundation was already here. So it is a disrespect and a slap in the face to fucking say, it's like y'all just trying to erase black American people. And I'm not going for that ethnic erasure. We're not going. So if I'm xenophobic for that, then so be it. I had somebody say, oh, I'm unfollowing you because you've been xenophobic. Bitch, I'm xenophobic for saying that immigrants didn't fucking build New York. Did I lie? I didn't lie. Did they add to? Yes. But you didn't build it. Y'all do that shit with everything we've accomplished. Y'all shit with fucking hip hop. Y'all do that shit with our hairstyles, with our style, with our vernacular, our everything.
Foreigners, immigrants are able to wake up and say America is the land of opportunities. Not because white people made it easy for you to go there. No, my love. Matter of fact, they wouldn't give a shit. Matter of fact, they would love to see you in your home country, not taking your poor life in America to live for a good life. But you know who makes it possible for you to call America the land of opportunities? If you don't know, I need you to check within yourself. That's just the message I wanted to say today. That's just what I want to say today. Let every immigrant sit down and put a torch within their chest and ask themselves, I'm here by the means of who made it possible for me to be here? How do I sit in Africa, in Asia, or in the Caribbean and sit and say I want to have a future in America? How do we wake up today and have people like Cardi B, Rihanna, Nicki Minaj having careers, Tyler having careers in the United States? Not because white people made it possible for you. No, clearly they wish black people could vanish from the planet of Earth. That's why they went colonizing everywhere. But you know why our favorites from different countries are able to make it in the United States? Because African Americans fought for everybody's right. They carried the cross without even knowing who will come in the future. So if Mamdani does not recognize those people, I'm sorry to say, it will be one time and that will be it all. So we'll have to see it. Focus on the immigrants back. Give credit where it's due, baby.
So there's something I want to say around the topic of Black Americans and then immigrants. I'm seeing lots of videos from Black Americans urging Zoran Mamdani, new mayor of New York, soon to be, to not forget about Black Americans, because in his speech, and this is also something I noticed, he did talk about all of a bunch of the immigrant communities in New York and how they built New York. And he completely neglected Black Americans. I'm not from New York, I'm from Massachusetts, but even here and all over the country, I have seen how local government always deprioritizes Black Americans specifically. Now, I don't think electing Zoran Mamdani was a mistake. I really like him, even though I will not benefit from his policies. I'm very happy he won, and I hope more people like him go up to become leaders in this country. But I also urge them not to forget or deprioritize Black Americans. The Black American experience is different from the immigrant experience, even if it's a Black immigrant. Two different experiences. And on a statistical level, so this is data, this is not me making it up, Black Americans are deprioritized below immigrants. And that's not immigrants' fault. That is literally just how the system works. And because of that, I see so much division when it comes to Black Americans and immigrants, because it's hard to look past someone who's new to this country getting certain benefits or policies or programs that you have either needed or waited for and still have yet to get, even though you've been here your whole life. it's hard for them to look past that and see that what's really the issue is the system. And then on the flip side, what I see, and again, this is not me saying all Black Americans, all immigrants, but on the flip side, what I'll see are immigrants will come to this country and they will rise above the odds, which is amazing. But then they'll look back at Black Americans and say, well, if I did it, why can't you? Are you just lazy? And then that whole dynamic just pits Black Americans and immigrants against each other, which I hate. People need to remember that because of chattel slavery, it was Black Americans who were stolen from their own land and brought here. We laid the foundation. We laid the foundation for you to come here and then build on top of that. So yes, saying immigrants built this country is not wrong, but completely ignoring that Black Americans laid the foundation for them and then also built alongside them, that's what the message should have been. I really hope, because I saw his team, Zoran Mamdani's transition team, and I know it's all women, but I don't think I saw any Black Americans specifically on there. I do hope that he gets someone on his team who is a Black American, I would say a Black American woman, who can advise him on how to approach and help our community. Even though, again, I'm not from New York. I'm just saying, like, the community in New York. Because it's just different. It is different from the immigrant experience. And I hope all leaders who are coming up in this country also just remember that.
Who built New York City? New York's new mayor, Zoran Mamdani. I probably butchered it, so I apologize. I was with his speech and everything he had going all the way up until he said New York City was built by immigrants, powered by immigrants, and now ran by immigrant, whatever the hell. Get that part, but it was not built by immigrants. It was built by enslaved Black Americans. Let's not erase history. And this be my issue sometimes when immigrants get in power. It's like y'all want to erase the history and the foundation of America. And it kind of annoys me sometimes because it's just like you could have said built by enslaved Africans, developed by immigrants. He said nothing about American citizens at all in the ending of that speech at all. He gave all the credit to immigrants. And New York City does have the highest population of immigration. Definitely understand that it is a multicultural city. That's what makes New York what it is. Definitely love that, but let's not discredit people. Let's not discredit actual American citizens, okay? I don't know. Y'all can chew me up in the comments, but I just pay attention to little stuff like that. And yeah, I just wasn't feeling that part. So, And I did do my research on him, and I see that he was campaigning in clubs and churches. He was campaigning to Jews. Like, he was hitting every corner, Caribbeans, Latinos, Black Americans. He has been hitting every corner of campaigning. But let's be real. We know how campaigning works. You got to get people on your team. I'll continue to do more research on him because I don't know too much about him. And, yeah, I don't know. It's just something a little, I don't know. And just an FYI, Black Americans are not immigrants to America.
Last night, Zoran Mamdani's had his victory speech, and he made some Black Americans cringe because he was talking about how New York was built by immigrants. Hold on, let me show you.
New York will remain a city of immigrants, a city built by immigrants, powered by immigrants, and as of tonight, led by an immigrant.
So there were some Black Americans that took offense to this because, Black Americans are routinely left out of the conversation when it comes to building America. And a lot of people, especially people who are immigrants and who are in the political sphere, Obama has done it before, talk about how this country was built on immigrants and immigrants are the ones who built this country when Black Americans are not immigrants. It's like they always are either taking us for granted or just conveniently leaving us out. So I understand that. And I feel that same way. Although with this speech, I didn't really get that. I listened to the whole speech. And while I understand the sentiment of my fellow Black Americans, I also understand what Zoran was trying to say. And before that, in the speech, he had said that he wanted to make a New York the city that could be affordable to all the Black American women who had, well, he didn't say Black American, he just said Black women, but, you know, Black with a capital B, that had been let go from federal jobs by Trump. And he also said this.
So Donald Trump, since I know you're watching, I have 4 words for you. Turn the volume up.
He said, turn the volume up, which I have to think that he was referencing KRS-One, great Black American rapper from the 80s and 90s. So he said, turn the volume up, the devil's time is up. So I gotta think he was referencing that. And he also used hip hop a lot during the campaign. Remember when he went to the Wu-Tang concert and spoke to the Wu and, you know, Jadakiss and Styles P and Killer Mike? Like, he used Black American culture as a way to forward his campaign throughout the entire campaigns. I understand why people might be reluctant to take him on. I'm gonna be watching from New Jersey and hoping for the best.
This is an excellent point. I listened to part of Mamdani's victory speech. I didn't hear all of it, but I did hear the part where he stated that New York City was built by immigrants. I beg to differ. Immigrants helped, but New York City, as well as this country, was built by Black Americans, especially our enslaved ancestors. And specifically regarding New York City, again, you all need to look up Seneca Village, which was a vibrant, thriving Black community that the city destroyed in order to build what is now known as Central Park. Everyone tries to discredit and erase the contributions of Black Americans who are descended from enslaved Africans and how our ancestors built this nation. Bottom line, the White House, where the East Wing is being demolished so that the felon in chief can have his gilded ballroom that we all need, was built by enslaved people. And so here's this narrative about immigrants. Again, you all, Black Americans, we must stand together collectively and use our voice. And by using our voice, I mean by speaking with our dollars and economic power to make sure that we get what we want and that our contributions in this country are not erased.
He didn't mention African Americans because he doesn't think they exist or think they're important. That's why he didn't mention them in his speech. African Americans have been in New York since the 1600s. And as someone who is a third generation New Yorker, half of my family coming during the Great Migration in the 1940s, and the other half of my family being there since the late 1700s, we don't be there no more. We've been gutted out of our communities. We've been kicked out of our communities. We have been impoverished. Most of the people you see who are black on the street of New York are African American. They're African American. Why do you think that is? It's by design. That is by design. We can get into the whole historics of like why that is, the structural disenfranchisement of African Americans, of course, because we're owed a big motherfucking bill, and there's just feelings of if we get an actual power, not manicured power, but actual power, we're gonna get our lick back. And at this point in time, after the stunts y'all been playing with us, but to be real, like China's about to put y'all in check anyway, so I don't even think we need to do anything. But yeah, this stunt is just, they love to do this thing where they get like the bourgeois, they get like because something right now in U.S. politics, we really are trying to create some sort of relationship to India, probably for the labor force, because Latin America is resisting, as we see what's happening in Venezuela. And do you know who taught them how to do that resistance in Latin America and get their independence? Haiti. And who's really tied up in Haiti? The Clintons, right? Oh, shouldn't say that. And the Democrats. The Democrats are very tied up in maintaining the suppression of the global South. So what they do is they import the upper class from the global South and cosplay them as people of, quote unquote, people of color, a model minority, whatever. But really, they wear the skin of African Americans. They wear the history of African Americans, and then they erase them in the same breath. So that's what that is.
And that's why Zoran Mandami acted the way he did and did not include them. And he was definitely going to be a part of the continued gutting of African Americans in Bed-Stuy and in Harlem. Yeah. They moved all the African Americans actually into the housing projects, but I have a feeling that the housing projects are about to be fully Latin American, fully Hispanic right now. So my little bit of advice for the Hispanic community, you're next. So they're going to go after the Puerto Ricans and the Dominicans next. Yeah. Yeah. I'm sorry about that. Like, it's just going to happen. To make way. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked that underneath Zoran Mandami, they make way for artist housing in the housing projects. Or they renovate the housing projects for artist housing, which then there's going to be white people living in the projects soon. Just be prepared for it. But yeah, I'm just straight up pissed. I'm just, because also there's a layer of this where people are like, African Americans are dumb. A lot of people think African Americans are dumb, and they think African Americans don't know what is going on. That's why African Americans have to do this extreme kind of performance of being bourgeois and being intelligent and being so well read and academic, because people inherently think we don't know what the fuck happened to us. So we have to theorize our degradation. That is African American studies. That is any sort of humanities theory in relationship to the plight of African Americans. That is Afro-pessimism. We have to theorize our degra motherfucking-dation.
All right, y'all. So as somebody who supports Zoran Mamdani, I also think it's important for me as an immigrant Black woman to use my platform to call out the erasure of Black Americans that he accidentally, I don't know if it was accidentally or intentionally, did during his speech when he said immigrants built New York City. As a Black immigrant who has benefited from Black Americans and who I am today because of Black Americans, I believe that this is a teachable moment, and hopefully Zoran can change what he has done, because for him to say that immigrants built New York City is actually not true. Black Americans built New York City. Black Americans built America. And they're constantly erased when it comes to the conversations of who built this country. And as somebody who will always use her platform to call out any harm that is being done to Black Americans, I think it's important for me to say that I don't agree with Zoran saying immigrants built New York City, because they didn't. Yes, there are a lot of immigrants in New York City, and yes, there are a lot of immigrants in America, but at the end of the day, the people who built this country are enslaved Black people, are Black Americans. America is what it is today because of Black Americans. So I hope that Mamdani, you correct the situation and take accountability that you effed up. Like, that was not cool what you said. So I should work with you though, but I don't agree with the statement that immigrants built New York City, because they didn't. And it is very disrespectful to the Black American community to say some shit like that. So I hope you correct it and you do the right thing. Okay. Shout out to the Black Americans. I love y'all so much, and I would not be who I am in this country if it was not for Black Americans, enslaved people. I would not be Kumoyo if it wasn't for Black Americans. I am in this country because of Black Americans. The freedoms that I have are because of Black Americans. And it's about damn time that they get all the flowers and the respect that they deserve from white people, non-Black people, and other Black folks. So yeah, shout out to all my Black Americans. I love y'all, and I really pray and hope that Mamdani, you make this situation right.
I feel like everyone wants to take credit for what America has become, or what it is today, as it stands today, while simultaneously kind of discrediting and undermining the fact that there was hundreds of years of evils and atrocities that happened to even get America to the point where people would even want to be here at all, that people would want to migrate over here. Because the truth be told is, nobody in their right mind would leave their homeland, their family, their friends, to come to a place that didn't already have some level of opportunity, that wasn't already built up with some type of infrastructure. Like, immigration didn't really start happening heavily until like the 20s and 30s. And I'm not saying that to undermine any person who was an immigrant and came over here and made a great life for themselves. But what I am saying is that it seems like when it comes time to be proud of like who you've become as an immigrant and what you've built and what you've established here, it's like it's all good, like because your family's from somewhere else and you're proud of what you created over here. But at the same time, whenever a person who doesn't have an immigrant background, like the foundational Black Americans, the freedmen, or even the whites, the people who were descendants of the white slave owners, right? Like basically, if you don't have an immigrant story, you don't have an immigrant background, that's when it becomes a problem for you to show pride in being American or having foundational American roots. That's when people start to bring up, oh, well, this is stolen land. This country was built on stolen land. You're not truly American because you're not a Native American. So I feel like if you don't have an immigrant background and you are part of the lineage of people who came from centuries of atrocities on this land, you're not really allowed to have pride in what you contribute or what your lineage contributed. You're not really allowed to like be proud to be American, right? You're only allowed to be proud to be American if you're not from America. You're only allowed to say that you built something and built up something if you have an immigrant background. And that's just something that I noticed. Like, not really something I normally speak on, but I noticed it. Everybody wants to take credit for it's built up into a great place. And a lot of people had contributed to this. But all I'm saying is it just seems like you're only allowed to say that you built up America as long as you were not a part, your lineage doesn't go back to the foundation of America.
I saw the realest video right now about how Zoran Mamdani never spoke for Black Americans, especially being a mayor from New York. And while I agree with her, I don't think that he necessarily should not have one. That just speaks to the political climate that Black people have always been in and will continue to be in. I posted a video the other day and talked about how our civil rights have been overtaken by the LGBT, but not just LGBT. It's been overtaken by anybody that is brown or considered marginalized, literally. And so Black people are the lowest on that totem pole to this fight. Civil rights that Black people fought for, everybody else benefits from. A lot of people don't want to acknowledge this. A lot of people don't want to acknowledge this because then it would have to bring up the truth about reparations and the fact that people are conditioned and indoctrinated to just hate Black people without any real plight or reason, right? Experiencing a situation with a Black person doesn't mean that all Black people are that way. And when you think like that, that is an ignorance. That is an ignorance. And it's not something like, well, I could see how somebody could think that way. No, you can't. And the more you start to read and educate yourself, the more exposure this gets. And you wonder, how did it get this sick? How did we get here? If you don't think that even immigrants, as somebody who is one, is prioritized above Black Americanness, then why is it that it is easier for an immigrant to come here and get a business, but somebody who has lived here and built this country has a harder threshold, a higher threshold? It's built by design. They prioritize immigrants over people that were born and built this country. Our plight is over. They don't care about it anymore. So they have to inundate it with other things. Do you get it? Now ask yourself why. Why is this even allowed? Amendments and policies that are written so wordly and strongly has written Black people out of society very easily because no other person has necessarily had to be written into society the way a Black person has.
This might ruff a few feathers, but I need to get over the fear of ruffing feathers because what's the point of life if you don't ruff feathers? I'm so tired of keeping my thoughts in my head because then I'll be scrolling and then someone will have the same thought and I'm like, girl, I wish we could be in the same room so we could talk together. But I have thoughts and a phone So hello. To start things off, I just want to play some identity politics. I am born in Uganda. I am not a child of immigrants. I am an immigrant. So my experience is as a first gen. That's what you call it, right? I'm black. Amongst other things, those are my identity politics. Thanks for listening. I'm just saying that as a joke, but also they are also like, it's kind of like my positionality statement, if you want to call it that. Okay, here we go. These are my thoughts. Oh wait, the most important positionality statement to make for this video is that I am not a New Yorker. I literally just got here. But we need to bring back the BIPOC identification. And I wish I just know people who are not black or indigenous are not going to understand it, because you have to have had the lived experience to understand why the acronym BIPOC was created and why black and indigenous people chose to alienate, that's not a good word to use, but whatever that means, from the POC. And when I say black as well, I'm recognizing black as an ethnicity that African Americans who are here through chattel slavery identify with. And then I'm also talking about black as a racial construct that we identify with and we are also harmed with. So I'm a black person. I'm also African, but I'm also not black in the same way that an African American identifies as black as an ethnic group. Okay, just putting that on the table. It is something I had to learn and come to terms with when I moved here. It takes a lot of unlearning. If you haven't gotten there, I wish you the best. But just putting that on the table. And I've kind of been thinking about this kind of on my own, because I don't really know anyone with the exact same train of thought from the exact same perspective to kind of like talk about it with, who would understand exactly where I'm coming from. And until I was scrolling here and I came across a video of a black femme presenting person talking about it from like a black perspective, and I was like, yes, but the video went away because the For You page decided to refresh itself. I think something that is constantly forgotten and constantly pushed to the side, people don't even realize the harm, the internalized harms in the things they say when indigenous issues are put on the front or are pushed towards the front or are even mentioned. Let's just start there. For anyone to be here right now, absolutely anyone, anywhere on Turtle Island, Canada, America, erase those names before any of this. This is indigenous land. This is indigenous territory. A genocide had to take place, and it's still a continual genocide that is going on in multiple parts of the land. Mexico, part of Turtle Island, part of the indigenous land. Those are indigenous people to this land. Disease, genocide, absolutely the worst atrocities you can think of had to take place first. And you're telling me you can't even acknowledge the land that you step on as the barest of minimums that a single person can ever do? I'm so sorry. That's where I start with absolutely anything, because Let me calm down. I see everything as land first, as the ancestors of this land first, before anything else. This does not erase anything else. It's just something that's continuously erased, continuously ignored. And to see this from someone who, I don't put anyone in this type of work on a pedestal or anything, but like, imagine had he ran with indigenous folks, indigenous sovereignty, and indigenous self-determination on the platform. And right next to indigenous self-determination and indigenous sovereignty, black sovereignty. Black sovereignty, recognizing here that I'm actually speaking about black folks as in like black Americans who were forced to be here through chattel slavery. Recognizing these two does not erase anyone's experience. It does not erase anyone's harm. But by not recognizing those two as the two most important things to the freedom of this land, I don't want to call it the A word. erases that. Actually, it erases that, you know, it erases it. And I don't know, whenever I talk about indigenous rights, people are like, oh, it's because you're Canadian. As if this is not the same land. As if this is not the same land. Oh, you guys have indigenous people there. There's just not enough indigenous, like, I just don't see indigenous culture in New York City. Like, indigenous people just, like, they're not here, so, like, I just don't understand what we're supposed. These are actual statements I have heard every time I bring this up. And I don't have the vocabulary, the emotional stamina, or the, I said vocabulary, to even articulate how problematic those statements are. I think it's just a feeling, and I hope someone else can articulate it better in the comments or in a video of their own. And I think that as someone who understands the immigrant experience as an immigrant myself, all I've ever known in the majority of my life is being an immigrant and all that comes with that. I just think that we're still actively playing the role of erasure of Black and Indigenous issues. And we need to stop saying racialized. We need to stop saying, you know, like the word that groups everything together, because there are some people's experiences that are still being erased in the whole notion of grouping it all together into one population. Whenever I bring up like a fact about Indigenous history, people are like, whoa, how did you know that? Whoa, you're so inspiring. I hate to break it to you. So this is less of a critique and more of a call to action as Zoran continues to like get closer to the days leading up to actually being the mayor sworn in, period. Please, Musaja, I'm speaking to you in your mother tongue, Sebo. Mpulira. Bring Indigenous rights, sovereignty, self-determination to the front of your platform. Like, I am begging. How do I say I'm begging in Luganda? I don't know, but you know. So, and think about January 15th. Yeah. Okay. I'm not referring to the US. This is for Zoran.